Alright, so in this video I'm going to explain to you how to use your GDC to actually find the correlation coefficient. Okay, and I'm going to use the workbook on understanding correlation in bivariate data. Okay, whereby it gives you different tables of values with two different parameters, and then you actually need to see what kind of relationship you have between these two set of values. So I'm going to use example 1, whereby you have a table which has hours of study and test scores, and it's an example whereby we don't have a correlation between the two. So intuitively, when you look at the two parameters, you'll tend to think that as you increase the number of hours of study, the test scores should increase. But it doesn't quite work out this way, because sometimes we can have higher study hours and then you still have lower test scores. So then the hours of study doesn't really determine test scores. So let me show you how to do it on the calculator. So the first thing you do is you will need to actually turn on the calculator first. So you press on the on button, and by default, usually your screen will look like that because you've been doing calculations. So you press on menu, and then you choose the stat window, which is the second one. So you choose it, and then you press on execute, and then it gives you different list. And then what you're going to do is, under list 1, you're actually going to input the hours of study. So I have 1 up to 6, so I'm going to input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I've input all the hours of study. Then I'm going to shift to the second list, whereby I'm going to insert the test score. So the first one is 65, the second one is 70, then 55, 60, 75, and 58. You see that every time I input the data, I press on execute to actually to have the data logged. Okay, so once you've inserted all the values, what you do is you go on calculate. So that's calculate is F2. So I press on F2, and then it gives me one variable, two variable, and then a regression. So I'm going to choose regression, which is F3. If you press on F3, then we're trying to find whether there's a linear regression. So that's X. Okay, the X power 2 is a quadratic regression. This one is a cubic one, but we're not going to explore it in this video. So we're going to check for linear regression. So F1. So I press on F1. It gives me AX plus B and A plus BX. I'm going to choose the first one, so F1. Then you will see that the R value we're getting is actually minus 0.1. So it's as if minus 0, which is as if 0. So it means that there is no correlation between these two sets of values. All right. Now I'm going to try to choose one which had a very strong positive one. So if I go through the workbook, example 3 is one where you have a strong positive correlation. So let's try this one and see if we can actually get a strong positive. So I'm going to just delete these values. I'm going to delete the values in list 1 as well. So for strong positive correlation, we had years of experience and then annual salary. So I'm going to input the years of experience first. So that's 1 up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I input all these values. Then I'm going to now insert the annual salary in dollars. So that's 35,000. The second one is 38,000. Then 42,000, then 45,000, then 50, then we've got 55,000. So I insert all these values, and if you still remember, we choose regression X, so that's F1, and then EX plus B. And you will notice that here we have the R value as 0.99, which can be approximated to 1, which is a very strong positive correlation. Okay, so I've actually gone through the steps with you, whereby first of all you choose the stat function, then you insert the list of values. On the list 1 you have all the values for the first variable, and then on the list 2 you have all the values for the second variable. Actually, we can go back to have a look here. So once we choose the stats menu, we insert all the values for the first variable on the list 1, and then all the values for the second variable on the list 2. And then what did we do? If I go back, so press on calculate, regression, then you choose X. Then here you go. So that's a recap of what we did. And that's a very powerful technique because it allows you to check for correlation between two variables. Now, correlation doesn't really mean causation. So it doesn't mean that one variable is causing the other thing to happen, as it's highlighted in the notes. But it's one technique which can actually be used quite a lot in your math exploration if you're trying to check what kind of relationship exists between two sets of variables which you've collected, or it could be from secondary sources also, like data you've got online. So it's quite a handy and powerful technique you can use with your exploration as well. Okay, I hope that was useful.